What do I need to unlearn in my marriage? I've really been asking myself this question. And the question I've been asking myself is, what do I need to unlearn in my marriage? That is such a deep question because we pick up these we pick up these opinions, we pick up these assumptions, we also pick up like these teachings from people who are married and like, oh, you should do this and you should do that. He wanted me to turn around and look at how he has healed me, how he has taken me through a process, how he has caused me to be more intimate with him. And he said this is all connected. Being a fortified wife is not just about the warfare. This is all connected. What's inside of you, what builds you up, what gives you strength is all inside of you. So he showed me the process and reminded me that the healing was so important. And for that, I'm so incredibly grateful. Me minding myself so far in 2026 looks like me evaluating what I like and what I don't like anymore. It is the Kingdom Wife Mom Boss podcast.
So why would I walk away if God said I can handle it? If he has endowed me with dunamis power that lives in me, how can I live defeated?
But one of the things that I realized was that I'm a person too.
You're in the wilderness and you don't even realize it.
And so now we walk around with the spirit of offense and unforgiveness and anger and bitterness. And God has to get that stuff off of us first. Thriving Decrees for the Kingdom Wife Mom Boss is a power move. It is packed with thought-provoking, life-changing tools to help you thrive in the kingdom as a wife, as a mom, and as a leader who is seeking to see the fruit of God's promises in her life. Make sure you go to my website at www.clemetradashie.com and order your copy. Hey, Kingdom Wife Mom Boss, thank you so much for joining me today on another episode of the Kingdom Wife Mom Boss podcast. You got me today. How have you been? What have you been up to? I feel like I haven't really been able to like check in. We've had so many amazing guests so far this season on the podcast. Everybody just coming in and giving just some tools and some strategy on how to thrive in different areas of life as a Kingdom Wife Mom Boss. I absolutely love it. And so I haven't really been able to just like say, hey, like, what's up? How are you doing? All right. So catching up. It was just Valentine's Day. I hope you guys had a great Valentine's Day. And I want to know how you celebrated Valentine's Day. So let me tell you what. Okay. So first of all, we had a flag football game, but my son had his first. Is that a first? I guess that's the first Valentine because it is the first time that I had to like go to the store and like buy stuff for some girl. But he had his little first Valentine. I guess I don't know if I want to call it a date. It was just him, the girl he's talking to, and her friend, and then his friend. It wasn't really a double date. It was kind of like a group outing. And so I thought that was super cute. Kind of, as a mother, you kind of like, sir, what are you doing? Like, why do you need a girlfriend? You have, like, this is just me. This is just how I am. Like, why do you need a girlfriend? And if you're going to have a girlfriend, you need to get a job because you're spending all my money on this Valentine. And so, they really do a whole lot. But let me tell you what I realized. Okay. I realized that me and my husband stopped celebrating Valentine's Day, and I couldn't remember like why we really stopped celebrating Valentine's Day. I think it was pretty much just like the people around us. It was kind of like, why do you need to celebrate Valentine's Day? But here's what I realized, and I'm telling y'all, I really think I'm going through a midlife something because I've been reevaluating so many different aspects of my life, just trying to figure out like what I like and what I don't like and what I want to do and what I don't want to do, and just kind of reevaluating and refocusing on certain parts, right? And here's the conclusion I come to with Valentine's Day. I actually do want to celebrate Valentine's Day. Why did I stop celebrating Valentine's Day? I don't know. But I actually do want to just take that time to just be like it's a surprising, fun, and intentional day. So next year, I think we'll get back on celebrating Valentine's Day. It's nothing wrong with it. It's never been anything wrong with it. It was just kind of like, well, we are together every day. We don't need to celebrate Valentine's Day. But now I'm back on the wait. Why aren't you celebrating Valentine's Day, girl? Just do it. And so I decided that next year. We will be back on a Valentine's Day train. I've really been asking myself this question, and the question I've been asking myself is, what do I need to unlearn in my marriage? That that is such a deep question. What do I need to unlearn in my marriage? Because we pick up these we pick up these opinions, we pick up these assumptions, we also pick up like these teachings from people who are married and like, oh, you should do this and you shouldn't do that, you should do this and you shouldn't do that. Now I am a full firm believer that you should try and do whatever works for you and your spouse. But I think there are some things that we learn along the way about marriage that does not actually conform or fit specifically to our marriages. And we've just kind of been rocking with it. It's not really working. It's not really serving our marriage justice. But because we've learned this thing, we've just been rocking with it. And so I really haven't, girl, I'm telling you, I've just been like sitting down and evaluating stuff. But I've really been evaluating what that means to me. Like, what needs to happen? Like, what do I need to unlearn in my marriage? And so I came up with at least three things that I need to unlearn in my marriage. And so one is that he should know. Right, dude, you should know. Like, and this is in perspective to my husband and who my husband is, right? This is going to be different for everybody. There are men who do. They just know where you need them to be and know what you want them to do. Like they just know these things. But there are some men who don't. I wholeheartedly believe that those are conversations and things we need to discover and work out before marriage. But if you're like me and you're in the situation and you don't think about those things because we were so young when we started dating, like I didn't think about it. I didn't even know who I was. Like how was I supposed to know who I wanted because I didn't even know who I was. But those are things I really think should be discussed prior to marriage. But I feel like, you should know that I need you to do this. You should know that I need you to show up here. You should know. That is something that I really had to unlearn in my marriage. And sometimes when I feel myself reverting back to that, I have to remind myself, like my husband, he will do whatever, he'll be wherever I need him to be. Like that's just who he is. But he needs me to very specifically tell him what I need him to do and where I need him to be. And I'm not gonna lie, sometimes that aggravates me because I'm like, you should just know. But that's not who he is, and that's just not the husband that he is. And so he doesn't just know. And that's okay because as his wife and as we two are one, it really should be just fine for me to be able to say to him, hey, this is where I need you, and this is what I need you to do. So that is one thing. Another thing that I had to learn years ago, I had to unlearn this, that submission means silence. And so in one of the books that I'm finishing up for you guys, I talk about how I used to run my mouth. My mouth was so bad. My husband, who was back then my boyfriend, he would be like, he had to leave because like my mouth was just so bad. It was just making him like so angry. And baby, everything I was feeling, I was gonna say it. If it was on my heart, if it was on my mind, you were gonna know about it. And so I was also not submissive to him. Like I didn't want him to tell me what to do. I didn't think he was a good leader. Like it was just all these things that was just jumbled up in one with me running my mouth and not being submissive and not allowing him to lead, right? But when I got to the point where I really began to draw closer to God and really began to like heed his word to me as how I was supposed to be as a wife and become submissive to my husband, it was in that time where I was like, okay, well, I that means I can't tell him how I feel. That means I can't tell him what's going on. I can't tell him what's in my heart. I can't tell him what's on my mind. And the reason why I was feeling that way is because I lacked proper communication without emotional tension. Does that, like, I hope that makes sense. Like, I couldn't express what I was feeling without being angry or upset, or like, I couldn't express it without attaching my emotions to it. And I felt like if I was going to attach my emotions to it, then it was going to become an argument, and it was going to become a situation because, and mind you, still at this time, like, I didn't have the greatest control over my mouth. And so I didn't want it to become a situation where I just started going off at the mouth, because like, if you ever hear me say it, like, I have to not argue because back then, because once I start talking, baby, we both finna find out where I'm going. We both finna find out what's about to come out and where I'm going. And so I had to unlearn that when our marriage was on the brink of, like, baby, it was about done. And so from that time period on, I had to constantly remind myself that you can have a conversation without arguing. You can have a conversation without bringing so much tension into the marriage. Like, you can let him know what's going on. You can let him know what's on your heart. You can let him know what's on your mind. And your submission does not mean that you have to be silenced. That is the second thing that I had to unlearn. Third thing, I really had to acknowledge and appreciate the way that he loves, right? My husband, man, I'm thinking about this. Like, I'd imagine for a husband who expresses his love differently from, like, other people, for him to have a wife that doesn't appreciate the way that expresses his love is devastating, right? It's devastating, it's demeaning, it's oppressive. And so I have this really goes along with people looking at, like, outside marriages and outside relationships and trying to compare their marriage and their relationships and trying to compare their husband to the other husbands that they see, right? They're two different people. They express themselves in two different ways. And so this also, I guess, can go along with knowing your husband's love language, but just knowing your husband. And so I used to want him to be this hopeless romantic. Like, I wanted him to be this person. Like, I, and he knew that I wanted him to be this person. But if I can just be incredibly honest, like, the goo goo movie or Instagram posts or whatever that you see of these hopeless romantic guys, like, that's not my husband, but he's so romantic and amazing in his own way. For Valentine's Day, he got me flowers in a card. Like I said, we're not big Valentine's Day celebrators, but he did get me flowers in a card. And I was reading his card, and I don't know how he does. Like, this man has to stand in an aisle for a long time to find the cards that he find, because I ain't got the patience. But he finds a way to find the cards that literally speak to exactly where we are in our marriage. And it's so crazy to me. Like, exactly where we are. His mom says the same thing. He picks the best cards. And for me, it's very romantic in how he does that. He notices when I have on new clothes. He notices when I have on new shoes. He notices changes about me. When he knows that I'm overwhelmed about certain situations or certain things, like, he tries to make sure that he pays attention and is intentional and working in that area. Like, the way that he expresses his love for me is totally different. Now, there was that one year. That was after my mom passed away. It was in 2024. We went just, like, up the road to Destin, and we took a weekend for our anniversary. And he really surprised me that weekend with spa treatments, and he decorated the room, and he had all this stuff planned. Like, it was very out of his normal element romantic. And so he surprised me there, but I had to acknowledge to learn to acknowledge and appreciate the way that he loves and unlearn the thought that this is how he's supposed to show his love. So those are the three things that I really had to learn concerning my marriage. I had to unlearn concerning my marriage. And so even in that, I've had to look at honoring him a different way. We're going to do a whole episode about honor. I don't know when we're going to do this episode about honor, but we're going to do a whole episode about honoring our husbands, even when we don't feel like they deserve to be honored. Because the way that God broke that down to me shook me. Let's just go ahead and talk about it. The way that God broke that down to me really shook me. Like, when we go before the Lord, we're going to have to give an account of our lives in every aspect, in every area that God has placed before us. And that includes being a wife. So when you go before the Lord, you're going to have to give an account of your life as a wife. How were you as a wife? Did you honor your husband? Were you that helpmeet? Did you pray for your husband? Were you that nagging wife, right? Were you the supportive wife? Were you the wife who shows your husband righteousness, like the way of living righteousness, instead of quarreling with him all the time? You're going to have to give an account of your life as a wife. So, how do you honor your husband when you feel like he does not even deserve to be honored? I've been in that situation. I've been through that situation. I've struggled in that situation. And so I know how hard it is to do that. And I think we're gonna part two. Like we're gonna the next episode that I'm doing with just me, which will probably be next week. That next episode, we are going to talk about how to honor your husband when you don't when you don't feel like he deserves the honor. Because that is a hard topic of conversation that I feel like my kingdom women really need to know. You know, it really is a lot of kingdom women out here struggling in their marriages quietly and in silence. And a lot of it is pride. A lot of it is them not wanting the people to know that they're struggling in their marriage. And like I said, y'all, I've been sitting down evaluating so many things, and I've just been paying attention to being intentional about paying attention to the things that I'm not good at and the things that I need work on for myself, for my marriage, for my children, for my job. Like the improvement process it should never end. You should constantly be improving in every area and in every situation of your life. And this does not fall short in your marriage. You should definitely be working to improve yourself as a wife in your marriage. And so we definitely have to have that conversation about honor because there are a lot of wives out here struggling. A lot of wives out here struggling. Even God has had to correct me in my coaching because, like I said, I'm finishing up a book, and in that book, I write about how God said fortified wife, and I took it and I went. Like I took it and I understood the assignment. I took it and I went. And I went to war with the idea of fortified wife. And I made it about the fight. I made it about the fight, the warfare. And although this is true, like being a fortified wife who is fighting for her marriage is about the fight. It is about the warfare. God had to remind me that it wasn't just about those things. He was reminding me that it's also about walking in his peace, knowing his peace, resting in his presence, and getting the healing that you need to be strengthened. All right. Being a fortified wife is when you're fortified is what's in you. It's what's in you that builds you up. And so you have all of that mess still on the inside of you, when you have all of that bitterness, all of that anger, and all of that unforgiveness, all of that frustration, all of that disappointment, when all of that stuff is still built up on the inside of you, your fortifiedness is rotting away. You can't be a fortified wife with all of that stuff on the inside of you, because that stuff is in opposition to you being fortified, right? And on the contrary, I think that Lord, it's a false strength when we have all of those things on the inside of us, and so we put on a cape. That was something else I had to unlearn. I mean, not that I had all of that stuff on the inside of me, but I put on a cape. But when we have all of that stuff on the inside of us, it is rotting away at our strength. It is rotting away at us being fortified. Um, he had already taken me through the healing process. He had already taught me to trust in his word. But for some reason, I did not contribute that to being a fortified wife. And he wanted me to turn around and look, like he wanted me to turn around and look at how he has healed me, how he has taken me through a process, how he has caused me to be more intimate with him. And he said, this is all connected. Being a fortified wife is not just about the warfare. This is all connected. What's inside of you, what builds you up, what gives you strength is all inside of you. So he showed me the process and reminded me that the healing was so important. And for that, I'm so incredibly grateful. Even in the book that I wrote, Thriving Decrees for the Kingdom Wife Mom Boss, that book is a book of healing. That book is a contributor to being a fortified wife. It is a contributor to being just fortified in your mothering and on your job and in your business. Like, it is a contributor to it because it is causing you to look at the things that make you stumble and make you stop and make you deal with it, so that you will begin the healing process and begin to just become strengthened with his peace and his joy and his love on the inside of you. Because against those things, like against those things, there is no law. Against those things, the enemy is weakened, because when your husband does something and you need to make a move, your move in those moments when you are a fortified wife is going to be to pray. It's going to be to intercede. It's going to be to ask God the questions like, what do I need to do here? But whenever on the inside of you is bitterness or fear or anger or being begrudging, like whatever it is on the inside of you that is in opposition to those fruits of God, your reaction is going to be to start an argument. It's going to be to yell. And you can't be a fortified wife who tears down the marriage. You can't be a fortified wife who tears down the home. Like, those are in opposition to each other. Those are in opposition to each other. And so a fortified wife has to be healed. A fortified wife has to know the joy, the love, the peace, and the presence of God, because that is where the strength comes from. That is where the strong materials and the things that are built up on the inside of us that keep us fortified, like that is where that comes from. Because chances are you're having to war and pray and intercede for your husband. And if your husband is not on the same page as you spiritually, and your husband's getting on your nerves, or he's doing stuff that, you feel like he shouldn't be doing, or behaving the way that you feel like he should not be behaving, you're going to fall prey to the enemy in those situations. And instead of interceding and turning the atmosphere and turning the situation and coming in partnership with heaven for your marriage, you're going to begin to tear down what it is that God is calling you to be fortified in. He's calling you to be the open vessel that he does the work in. So here's what I had to unlearn. I had to unlearn that being fortified means that you have to just put on a cape of war and power and I'm going against the enemy, right? And learn that it's also about God's love, God's peace, God's presence, God's protection, God's strength. and God's power. Because ultimately, it's what's on the inside of you, and what's on the inside of you is the Spirit of God. And so the authority that you speak in your marriage and the things that you decree for your marriage is just you being a vessel for God to use and for him to use for his strength and for his power to save the covenant that he put before you. So it was something I had to unlearn in the fortified wife. And man, I'm just so grateful that God gives us opportunities to get it together and to get it right and to connect the dots, right? I'm so grateful that he does that. And so, man, for years, for quite a few years, walking as a fortified wife, um, who I knew I had to rest in the power of God, but I made it a lot about warfare. And God was like, okay, I need you to make it more about healing in this season. And so I'm excited to see what that looks like for you, like for my Kingdom Wife Mom Boss community. I'm excited to see what that looks like because I turn around and I see how he has healed me and how he has strengthened me, like how he has shifted my mind in the areas of like honoring my husband, in the areas of not being reactive to situations with my husband, but rather praying and interceding to him, like not just going to war against the enemy, but just praying and interceding to him with love and connection and just hearing what he has to say about the situation and just speaking what he tells me to speak in the situation. And oh, I've been doing this. I've been doing this for years. I just never, it's so crazy. I just never connected it to Fortified Wife. And here is why I never connected it to Fortified Wife because I felt like Fortified Wife had to be about the toughness. I felt like Fortified Wife had to be about the toughness. And so, although I always made it about the wife, I didn't always make it about the complete healing aspect of the wife. And so, I'm super excited to see what God does with that in this next season, as he has a few things before me that I am super excited to introduce to you. Before I forget, because it just came into my mind, if you go to my YouTube page, I have a 30-minute prayer, a roughly 30-minute prayer for wives who need strength. When I tell you, I feel like I was down. It started like around like when I published my book, Thriving the Creates when the Kingdom Wife My Boss. From the time that I feel like I published my book up until like last month, I just feel like I was just down. I was exhausted. I was tired. I needed strength. There was one day I was sitting on the couch and I was so tired. But there was so many things that needed to be done. And I said, God, I need strength. I don't have the strength that I need to get up and do what I need to do. And it wasn't immediate. It was probably about an hour later. God said, here's your strength. Here's your strength. And so he said, here's your strength. And I felt it. It was like a fresh wind. And I got up off of that couch and I went and did everything that I needed to do. I know that God sees us, and when we speak God, when we tell God, we just say, hey God, this is what I need. He hears us and he answers our prayers. And so he led me to do a prayer of just decreeing words and scriptures of strength over whoever needs to hear them and just praying for healing and strength for the Kingdom Wife Mom Boss. And so you can find that on my YouTube. And I think that the name, hold on one second. I'm pretty sure that the name of it is Prayers of Strength for the Kingdom Wife Mom Boss. Yes, prayer of strength for the Kingdom Wife Mom Boss. You can find that on my YouTube. And so I was looking at I was looking at my coaching, and even before God began to talk to me about the healing aspect of my coaching, I was looking at the misconceptions of my coaching, and I just want to run through those really quick. And so, one of the misconceptions I think is that people think that I think that I have the blueprint to fix your marriage. I don't have the blueprint to fix your marriage. I don't know you or your husband. God allows me to have the strategy to help you align with his plans for your marriage. And this is with any coach that you guys go to. They don't have, I'm sorry, but they do not have the blueprint. If you are a kingdom and you are looking for God's ordained instructions and path for whatever it is that you're going through, they do not have the blueprint. Only God has the blueprint, but God gives those coaches, us, me, strategy to help you align with his plans for your kingdom marriage. Another misconception is that I'm going to teach you that marriage is about fighting to stay together. Spiritual warfare in marriage does happen, but we can't make it all about the enemy. We have to ask God what our position is as a wife and what his desire is and what our will is, or what his will is for you as a kingdom wife. Is this a place that you need to be right now? Do you need to walk away? Are you needing to fight for your marriage? Are you fighting in vain? Are you fighting in opposition to his instruction? Um, we don't fight to stay together, right? There are times when we have to go to war against the enemy who's trying to come up against our peace, but we're not fighting to stay together. We are being intentional about the strategy and a plan that God has for our marriage to make sure that we are united and walking as one in the marriage. Another misconception is that I don't believe that divorce should happen. If God said for you to walk away, who am I really don't have anything else to say on that. Like, if God tells you to walk away, who am I to tell you to stay? Again, God has your blueprint. If that season of your life is up and God is saying, hey, this is okay, we're done, like, you need to walk away, then you need to walk away. As a fortified wife, you do not need to submit to your husband. I think that is a big one because when I say fortified wife, people automatically think that I'm saying that the wife is superior, like the wife is grand. And that's not it. That's not it at all. God is about order. He's about honor. And in order for you to be pleasing to him as a wife, you have to honor and submit to your husband, point blank and period. Being a fortified wife, we just discussed all the aspects of that, that it is not about being so much stronger than your husband that you don't have to submit to your husband. Like, that's not what we do. That is not what we are doing today, sis. It's not what we're doing. And another one, this is the last one I'm going to talk about, that I won't understand what you're going through and that I will judge you. Nope. We all have different situations, unique stories, about our marriages, but the goal is biblical blueprint in Christ. It is aligning to that biblical blueprint in our marriage. That is the goal. And so, with those misconceptions, I just have to say this. If you are a kingdom wife who know that you need healing, and let me tell you one way that you know that you need healing in your marriage or in yourself. Um, you can't control your emotions. Being unable to control your emotions is a way that you know that there is something that is triggering on the inside of you and you need healing, right? Um, God, there's so many different things that kind of wave a red flag to let us know that we need healing as a wife. So if you need healing as a wife, or even if you sense spiritual warfare in your kingdom marriage, you can't sit back and say nothing and sit back and do nothing. You have to, oh, I almost said that. You have to war for your fair. You have to war for your fair. You have to go to work and go to God and ask him to just to reveal things to you. What's in you that needs to be healed? And what do you need to pray for your marriage? Or what do you need to speak for your marriage? What do you need to unlearn for your marriage? What do you need to heal from in your marriage? All of these things are so important for you to come into alignment as the wife that God is calling for you to be. Unlearn, heal, honor, grow. Like whatever, sit back and evaluate. Because, baby, I'm still sitting back and I'm still evaluating. Sit back and evaluate and share those things with your husband. Share those things with people that are close to you so that you can find your peace of joy in your marriage and in the friendships and relationships around you, right? Whatever you need to be the wife that God is calling for you to be in this season and in this next season, girl, that is what you have to do. That is what you have to do. All right. Again, I hope you guys are doing amazing, and I hope that everything that 2026 is going well for you so far. And you know what? I have not forgot. Girl, we still minding you. We are still minding ourselves in 2026. And so I'm gonna start doing some check-ins on minding ourselves in 2026. And minding ourselves is really making sure that we're good. And I guess I'm off to a good start. Because me evaluating myself and figuring out what I like and what I don't like. Because as you grow and you get older, like things change. And so, me minding myself so far in 2026 looks like me evaluating what I like and what I don't like anymore. What's shifting, what's changing, how am I growing, how am I elevating, what kind of weight do I need to drop off of me? Like, that is me minding myself so far in 2026. How are you minding yourself so far in 2026? I would love to hear it. If you have not gotten the book, Thrive and Increase for the Kingdom Wife Mom Boss, girl, go get the book. It's on my website. It's on Amazon. And probably it'll be on a couple more platforms within the near future, but go ahead and get that book. If you have not subscribed to my email list, go ahead and subscribe to my email list. I love having these conversations of healing, growth, power, and authority as a Kingdom Wife Mom Boss. And I love having these conversations with you. And so until we meet again, I hope you guys have such an amazing week and love you. Bye. Hey, I hope that you enjoyed the episode. Make sure that you catch us every week here on the Kingdom Wife Mom Boss podcast, where we are bringing you new episodes, new content, new information, new empowerment, new strategies, and new strength. Until then, I'll catch you next time.